The world of sports is a brilliant and bizarre place. From the men that go to extreme lengths in order to get the perfect body, to the downright weird regimes and wacky rituals they perform in the name of athletics. With that said, let's take a look at some of the most unusual athletes that you won't believe. Lyoto Machida. If you're a fan of MMA fighting like me, then you're in luck. Lyoto Machida is a UFC light heavyweight champion with an amazing record of 36 wins and just 9 losses. He won his first 16 bouts in a row, but this incredible fighting prowess doesn't just come from training alone. Lyoto practices urotherapy. In English, he drinks his own pee. In several interviews, he's admitted he consumes his own vintage every morning as it's, and I quote, like a natural medicine. His father, Yoshizo Machida, claims to have influenced this stream of thinking and also partakes in the bizarre bathroom practice. If you ask me, that really takes the piss. Taichi Shin. Taichi Shin Tsuyoshi, or his given name Levin Gheorghe, is a professional sumo wrestler from Machida, Georgia. He currently sits in Japan's top division of sumo wrestlers, which isn't exactly known for its diversity. Nevertheless, he weighs in and competes at a gigantic 178 kilograms. In contrast to many of his professional opponents, Taichi Shin obviously stands out for his build. Sumo wrestlers put on a lot of weight in order to fight more effectively. The bigger you are, the harder you are to knock down. Taichi Shin follows the same eating and training regimen of his opponents, but his Georgian genes allow him to develop a much broader frame, making him a standout in any fight. Previously, Taichi Shin has reached the second highest rank in sumo of Ozeki, one shy of Yokozuna. That's a huge title to carry for a foreigner, even on those massive shoulders. Takanoyama. But sumo isn't just about being big. Wrestling like this is a strategy game which has even allowed the likes of 98 kilogram Takanoyama's Shintaro to reach the top professional sumo division. Despite being only 2/3 the weight of an average sumo wrestler, Takanoyama, born Pavel Bojar of Prague, reached the 5th highest rank of sumo in 2012. His exceptionally light frame meant he relied heavily on throws and strategic movements rather than brute force to win the majority of his matches. Despite eating and training similarly to his opponents, he struggled to gain weight, which would have given him the advantage to move up the ranks. In 2011, he was given a warning by the Sumo Association for injecting insulin. It was an attempt to help him gain weight, but the scandal saw him retire soon after. Sometimes size really is everything. Gheorghe Amidu. There are sporting giants, and then there are literal giants. Gheorghe Amidu, also known as the Goliath of Romania, was born in September 1909. Due to a rare disorder called gigantism, Amidu measured in at 7'9", making him the tallest Romanian in history, as well as the tallest professional boxer. Following a brief stint in the circus, Amidu was spotted by Italian boxing scout Umberto Lancia. He attended the Paris School for Boxing and at the age of 26 competed in his first boxing match against Italian legend Saverio Grizzo. Despite Grizzo's experience, Amidu won by first-round knockout. His second match against Titan Dumitru Pavlescu ended in the same first-round knockout later that year. And his third match against Italian Giuseppe Songa ended with, you guessed it, yet another knockout. Now that's what you call a huge Amidu movement. Sun Mingming. But Amidu wasn't the only giant to take a swipe at sporting history. Feast your eyes on Sun Mingming, the tallest professional basketball player in the world. In the 2017 to 2018 basketball season, the average height of NBA basketball players was 200.4 centimeters. Sun Mingming reaches a colossal 236.2 centimeters, with size 19 feet to boot, literally. In context, the average Chinese man only reaches 171 centimeters. Even though he was never drafted for any NBA teams, the towering player joined teams around the US, Mexico, Japan, and China before retiring in 2014. In 2013, Mingming married 187.3 centimeter professional handball player Yu Han. So their combined measurements make them the tallest married couple in the world. You could say they're taking love to new heights. Joe Mangianello. You might not know his name, but your mom certainly does, and she's probably seen him naked. Joe Mangianello is a professional bodybuilder and actor who starred in Magic Mike. His fitness regimes have gifted him with one of the buffest spots in Hollywood, which he's also published in a workout manual called Evolution.
but this guy is a beast in more ways than one.
Mangianello has been a lifelong fan of the role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons, so much so he even converted the basement of the house he shares with wife Sofia Vergara into a real-life dungeon. But this king of geeks doesn't run sessions for just anyone. He's the dungeon master of the Hollywood elite. Director James Gunn, Rage Against the Machine's Tom Morello, actor Vince Vaughn, and The Big Show from WWE are just a couple of his party members. You might want to think twice before picking on nerds in the future. Jesper Parnevik. How far would you go to try and improve your golf game? If you're 15-time professional golf champion Jesper Parnevik, the limit doesn't exist. Dubbed the Spaceman, this famous eccentric is renowned for his otherworldly behaviors on and off the green. For a time, he ate volcanic sand to improve his health and performance. He also tried a diet limited only to fruit before he got so skinny and weak that he had to quit. He used to wear stroboscopic glasses, strobing glasses which are used in high-speed sports to improve reaction time. He's had his blood irradiated to try and improve his energy levels. He's even had all of his fillings removed and replaced with porcelain to reduce the amount of mercury in his system. And that's just off the course. He claims to have once missed a 2-foot putt at a tournament because he was thinking about how much rope it would take to circle the world on 3-foot high stakes. Sometimes you just can't make this stuff up. Jon Scott. In 2016, the National Hockey League overhauled the format of their All-Star game in an attempt to spice things up a bit. The 3-on-3 overtime tournament is an irrelevant extra in the grand scheme of the main game, so they allowed fans to vote for who they wanted to see play as a team captain. If there's anything we know, it's never to leave fans in charge of decisions like this. The UK voted to name a $287 million boat Bodie McBoatface, and Mountain Dew fans nearly had a flavor called diabetes, for God's sake. So why break from terrible internet tradition here? The worst player on the Coyotes team, Jon Scott, was nominated as captain. He'd scored a grand total of 5 goals in his career up to that point, mainly because his entire role in the team was to be bruiser by creating fish-shaped drama on the ice. So obviously, the entire fanbase voted for him to become captain. The unusual move saw him as the punchline to a bad joke.
But after a lot of pushback from the National Hockey League, Scott was allowed to be captain of the Pacific Division in the All-Star game. And that's when the tables took a serious turn. During the semifinal game, Scott scored not just 1, but 2 incredible goals. His team skated into the finals, and the Pacific Division ended up winning the tournament. After being made the butt of the joke for months, Scott pulled a complete 180 and ended up being voted as the team's most valuable player. Now that's a real underdog story.
Butterbean. On the theme of unlikely athletes, it would be a crime not to mention the notorious Eric Esch, aka Butterbean. At 425 pounds, the overweight miracle hitter had an unbelievable career that started out in a rural strongman competition in Arkansas. Showcasing an incredible constitution for blows to the head, arms, and body, Esch was put on at the beginning of boxing shows for entertainment value more than anything. These short 4-round bouts usually saw Esch put against a smaller opponent, and more often than not, ended in a knockout. In boxing alone, Butterbean won 77 of his 91 fights, a staggering 58 of them by knockout. Having been overweight since the age of 11, he was occasionally asked to go on diets to fit into certain weight categories. For one of those, he ate nothing but chicken and butter beans, which is where he got the nickname from. And clearly, it was a hit. Taichi Shin. As we've already established, being tall has some incredible advantages when it comes to boxing. Following in the very large footsteps of Gheorghe Amidu, the 213cm Chinese giant Taichi Shin stepped into the boxing ring in 2014 with hopes of becoming a champion.
With an 84-inch arm span, this formidable opponent managed to win all 6 matches he partook in, with 2 of them ending in knockouts.
That's not even the most impressive part of his performance. I mean, take a look at the way he enters the ring. He's not even stretching his leg all the way up to clear the top rope. Despite being the tallest thing to enter the boxing ring since 1935, Dong disappeared into thin air at the end of 2015 with no further matches lined up. He made a brief reappearance in 2017 during tryouts for the WWE, but has since left voluntarily. That's a gigantic disappointment. Irani and Hulk. Some athletes have dreams of becoming sporting legends. Others simply want to look like an inverted triangle. With that said, meet Sajjad Irani and Hulk Ghoribi. For several months, the internet debated whether this was a real human or just an 8-year-old messing about in Photoshop. But he is real, ladies and gentlemen. At 400 pounds, this chronically neckless 27-year-old signed with the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship for a debut match in 2020. His Instagram may be filled with photos comparing himself to the actual Hulk to prove that he's the real deal, but the only question here is, can he put his arms down by his sides? Now that is something I'd pay to see. Junior Baby Albini. Who let a baby into the ring? No, we're not talking about this MMA fighter's weirdly diaper-shaped fighting shorts. You're looking at Junior Baby Albini, although I'm fairly certain I recognize him from somewhere else. Even though this looks like a publicity stunt gone a bit too far, Baby was surprisingly deadly in the cage. Up until this point, he'd won 14 of his 16 matches, 6 of them by knockout. Originally, he'd gotten into boxing to lose weight, shedding around 90 pounds and becoming the world's deadliest toddler along the way. He claims he had no idea the shorts were going to look the way they did, but perhaps one look at his opponent made him think he'd need a diaper. Mick Foley. Wrestling fans the world over will tell you that Mick Foley is one of the founding fathers of hardcore wrestling. As part of the WWE in 1998, he performed in one of the most dangerous matches in history when he was thrown off a 22-foot steel cage, landing on a table below. Despite being wheeled off on a stretcher, the wrestler returned to be chokeslammed through the top of the metal cage, which knocked one of his teeth into his nose, and then powerbombed onto a load of thumbtacks. You'd assume this guy would be one of the most hardened, jaded men around to take that much of a beating, but it's quite the opposite. Foley is known for having a real love of Christmas, so much so he has dedicated an entire room in his house to the holiday season, which he can visit 24/7. He's also written 4 children's books which have cover art that some might consider nightmare fuel. Maybe you can judge a book by its cover. So which of these did you think was the most unusual? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.